Hey guys, Terilis here with another Overwatch hero overview. This time I am looking at the tank Reinhardt. He has a very storied history, I should say. Personally, not one of great import, but he is one of Overwatch's original champions. So over 30 years ago, when Overwatch was created, Reinhardt was one of the first people to join. He was a German soldier, his full name being Reinhard Wilhelm. He was a German soldier that immediately was enlisted into Overwatch to be kind of a protector. And he stayed a part of Overwatch for as long as he could. It wasn't until his late 50s in which he was basically told to step down, as he had come of old enough age in which he really shouldn't be on the front lines anymore. Right now he's currently 61, so he's been there for a long time. Now, as he had to step down, the unfortunate thing was that this is when Overwatch began to fall apart. Overwatch was, kind of accused of being corrupt, and it was under suspicion of sedition, and so Overwatch, the organization that he loved so much and was so proud of, was falling apart right in front of him. And this is a person who always spoke his mind. Whether or not it was the good or the bad, he always spoke his mind. And, he could be, one of the biggest vocal supporters of Overwatch. And at the same time, he could be one of the greatest critics of Overwatch. So it was very disappointing for Reinhardt to see Overwatch fall apart the way it was. And he did not want Overwatch to fall apart. However, Overwatch eventually disbanded, and Reinhardt did not want to sit there and just sit on the wayside and do nothing about it. So he donned his old Crusader armor, which he's wearing right there, and decided to go around the world continuing to protect the innocent, defend the innocent, and winning, the popularity of the people all around him. This is Reinhard Wilhelm. This guy is huge. He wields a massive hammer, as you can see, with booster rockets in it, basically. And he's a force to be reckoned with in the Battle of Overwatch, or in a Overwatch game. He's able to put up barriers, he's able to deal a lot of damage, and he's basically able to be a massive disruptor tank, which makes him very useful. So his first ability is known as a rocket hammer, and most notably it's called that because of the jets that I see on this hammer on the right hand side, but it is like a massive power cleaver. So as you can see here, it just knocks people around and does lots of damage. This is a very damaging tank if it wants to be. And you can cleave people if you end up in a situation in which there are a lot of enemies and they're all grouped up. You can cleave them very well, and it does a lot of damage and takes out a lot of enemies. So I do love this ability. Very simple. That is your basic standard attack for Reinhardt. Just make sure you're in range, even though he is wielding this massive hammer. Notice how close his hand is to the actual sledge of the hammer and the head of the hammer, and his arc is not that large. His attack, you have to be somewhat close to actually deal damage to these people. So just take note of that when you're actually trying to do something with Reinhardt, or else you'll end up just swinging into nothing. Now, his other ability with this hammer is known as Barrier Field, and you use right click to pull it up, but it brings a 2000 health shield. Now, considering that tanks have a health pool of 500, this is a lot. And unless you're, not paying attention to it, it can, block a lot of the health, a lot of the damage that is incoming to your team. Excuse me. Now, this shield can recharge, but it can also be destroyed. If they deal enough damage, it will be destroyed and the shield will be broken. Now, if I bring it down and give it some time, you'll see bottom right, or bottom left, excuse me, just to the left of my ultimate, it starts recharging. I put it up, starts going down, and then I can bring it down, and it starts recharging. Now, the closer it is to 2000, it will recharge quicker. I've noticed that. If I were to sit here for a while again and let it deal damage, bring it down to the 1700 range, and then let it charge up again, it's a little bit slower. It takes a while for it to activate. You kind of have to be out of combat for a few seconds, or out of taking damage for a few seconds for it to build back up again. Reinhardt's first ability is Charge, and he charges in a straight line and just pins a hero or anybody in their line against the wall. So I'm gonna go ahead and use it right here. Hopefully I don't miss this guy as he's running around. Oh, he came out the other way. As you can see, I just charge in and pin him against the wall. And sometimes you can get multiple heroes with that. You can pin them all in a group together, and then you can just start swinging your hammer at them and deal tons of damage. His second ability is known as Fire Strike, and he basically just kind of whips his hammer forward, and it pierces through and deals damage to all enemies. So I'm going to go over here and fire this in this direct line here. Here's the second ability, and as you can see, it went through and did a ton of damage to these guys. And I can go ahead and pin them into the wall. Oh, blocked in by him, and kill the rest of them. So he has very powerful utility and disruption abilities. The charge especially, but the Fire Strike does a lot of damage itself. So even though he is a tank and he has a massive shield, he's able to put a lot of damage out at the same time, which makes him very valuable. His ultimate ability is known as Earth Shatter, and this is basically a cone AoE damage that does a lot of damage and knocks everyone up and on their butt, which becomes very powerful if you're trying to attack a point. You can Earth Shatter, deal a ton of damage, and then all of a sudden they're all knocked down and your team can close around them and deal the final blow, especially your assassins behind. So Reinhardt, I think, brings a lot of utility to the table. He's a lot of fun to play. You do have to be careful because he can be brought down really quickly if you're not utilizing your shield correctly. Whereas the other tanks are a little bit more difficult to bring down. D.Va and even Roadhog, which has the most health, those are more difficult to bring down. Reinhardt has to rely on his shield. If he's not relying on his shield, who's attacking him, a Reaper could come in from behind, anyone, and just start to really shred him to pieces. So he does have to rely on that shield to gain the name of tank. Otherwise, he's just a really big brute force, more of a bruiser than he is of a tank without that shield. So utilize the shield well, and you can be a tank as well as a bruiser for Reinhardt. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I personally like playing Reinhardt. Be careful with those melee swings, making sure you're in range, or else you'll be swinging in the air and it will be very detrimental to your team, because I have definitely made that new mistake in my first few matches playing as Reinhardt. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in the next video. Terilis out.